Hello and welcome to Unacademy, a one-stop destination for the English medium civil services aspirants. A very good morning and welcome to the daily Hindu news analysis. So let's begin today's discussion by first looking at the topics that we are going to discuss. Today I have chosen the international edition of the Hindu because there were some very interesting articles. I have chosen a total of 7 articles for a detailed analysis. We have 3 important columns that are very important for the mains exam. There are some important points within these articles that could be relevant for the prelims as well. And we have few small articles that are very important for the upcoming prelims. So let's analyze all these articles one by one and let's ensure that it's a comprehensive discussion so that you don't have to go back and read the newspaper again. If you guys are benefiting from our Hindu analysis, do let us know in the comments and don't forget to press the like button. Now before we start, we have few important announcements. On April 28th, Unacademy is hosting a mega UPSC event, Unacademy Manzil 2024. So we will use this event to felicitate the toppers, especially the toppers from Unacademy, and as well as you will get to interact with our top educators. But more importantly, there will be 2 big reveals for 2025 aspirants which could help you in your UPSC preparation. And there are a lot of exciting events and games as part of the event, so do take part on April 28th from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. And this shall be live on UPSC Unstoppable's YouTube channel. The link for the same is provided in the video description, or visit the homepage of our Unacademy IAS English channel, and there you will find the video link to be provided. Then as part of Conquer Prelims, the polity classes were completed yesterday, and from today Shyam sir will be starting with the economy part of the static crash course. So Shyam sir will be taking up 8 classes starting from today, and these classes will help you revise the most important static topics from Indian economy for the upcoming prelims. So these classes are being held on the Unacademy app at 6 p.m. every day, and for the link, you can just join our Telegram channel. Scan the QR code or search for Unacademy IAS English. Exactly at 6 p.m. we will share the session link. You just have to click on it to watch these sessions. So don't miss a single class under Conquer Prelims. So this is the schedule for the static part of the crash course which is going on. Polity classes have been completed. So from today, Indian economy is going to start, and Shyam sir will be taking up 8 classes until the 2nd of May. Then we have history, international relations and other subjects, and this shall continue until the 7th of June. And also remember, the current affairs part of Conquer Prelims is going to start from 1st of May right here on our YouTube channel. Then finally, there is a free special class that we are running on the Unacademy app, because I used to get a lot of questions from students that, sir, I don't understand geopolitics. I'm not able to connect the relevance of geography with international relations. So to address this problem, there is a limited series which we have started. Already we are done with 3 classes. So I'm taking up different regions, and with the help of maps, I'm trying to help you understand how geography influences geopolitics and international relations. So do attend these classes at 1 p.m. You can see the dates provided here, and the link for this entire series is also provided in the video description below. So today at 1 p.m. I'll be discussing Southeast Asia and East Asia, which is a very important region as far as India is concerned. So these were the important updates for you. All these initiatives are planned and designed to help you in your preparation. Now let's get started with the analysis of the Hindu newspaper by looking at this important column from page number 10. This article deals with the National Clean Air Program. The article is assessing the effectiveness of this important program, which is related to environment conservation and environment protection. So let's understand what is the National Clean Air Program, when was it launched, what is its objective, how has the implementation been, and are there any shortcomings and challenges in the implementation of this program? And let's also examine a way forward. Because these topics, they do require a detailed analysis. We should not just cover the basic facts, but we should analyze these topics because there could be a mains question. The topic is very important under environment and ecology. So let's understand the basics first. What is NCAP? The National Clean Air Program was launched by the Modi government in 2019. It was brought out by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, primarily to tackle air pollution. The name itself tells you what is the purpose of this program: to ensure that we provide clean air for our citizens, especially in the most polluted cities of India. Because in urban areas, air pollution is a major hazard, because there are multiple sources which are contributing to air pollution in our cities. We have vehicular pollution, we have industries, factories, and even the waste dumps, the landfills, which also contribute to air pollution. So there are multiple sources that contribute to air pollution and air pollutants. This has a detrimental impact on the environment of our cities. It has a huge negative impact on human health. It could directly contribute to various diseases and disorders, including respiratory issues. It directly contributes to mortality. Because of air pollution, eventually people can lose their lives due to respiratory problems. Some of the pollutants could be carcinogenic, right? So in India, air pollution has been a serious concern. Most global reports indicate that Indian cities, they rank amongst the worst polluted cities in the world. So keeping this in mind, the Government of India launched the National Clean Air Program in 2019, and it set a very ambitious target for itself. So under the program, the goal was to reduce the concentration of particulate matter by 20 to 30% by 2024. Particulate matter, or PM, is a major air pollutant. Essentially, these are minute particles or aerosols that are suspended in the air following incomplete combustion of fossil fuels and other substances. For example, vehicles, when they burn petrol and diesel, right, they release particulate matter, which are very minute aerosols. They vary in size from 2.5 nanometers to 10 nanometers. So there are two types of particulate matter which is identified, PM 2.5 and PM 10. These minute particles can easily enter our respiratory tract. They can get lodged in the lungs and cause very serious health consequences. It can aggravate conditions like asthma. Those suffering from other respiratory issues, they face a lot of difficulties when they are exposed to high levels of PM, right? Take, for example, the winter pollution seen in northern India, particularly in Delhi NCR region. So this has become a recurrent problem as there are multiple sources contributing to extensive air pollution in India. In many cities, air quality drops very significantly, and this happens sometimes throughout the year as well. So to improve the air quality and to ensure that we primarily target particulate matter and bring down its concentration, this program was launched. Recently, its target has been revised. Its target has been upgraded to achieve a reduction of PM concentration levels by 40% by 2026. So clearly, the goal is very ambitious. The target is very ambitious. Now let's see how is the implementation going on. According to the writer of the column, all the cities that are part of the program, there are more than 100 cities which are part of National Clean Air Program. So they are responsible at the city level to come out with an annual clean air action plan. They are supposed to come out with a clean air action plan to identify the sources of pollution, to list out the measures that they are going to take to mitigate air pollution. So based on this plan, funding will be provided by the center. And funding is also dependent on the performance of each city. So these two factors are very important. The Government of India has set aside more than 10,000 crore rupees to finance this initiative. But funding to each city is dependent on two factors. One, whether each city has come out with a clean air action plan. Do they have a clear roadmap? Do they have clear targets and a plan in mind? Second, are they really utilizing the funds? What is the progress they are achieving? What's the reduction in PM levels they have achieved over the last 1 year? Depending on their performance, funds are released. Now, according to the article, there are major red flags, major concerns. Many cities, they haven't even come out with a clean air action plan. Many cities have received the funds, but they are not utilizing the entire funds. Only 60% of the allocated funds have been utilized. Some cities have proactively brought out the clean air action plans, but they are failing in implementation. There is bureaucratic red tapeism, which is leading to slow decision making at the city level or state level. And as a result, there are many inconsistencies in the implementation of the program across different cities. Some cities have not clearly identified the sources of pollution. Some cities haven't set any deadline to achieve the targets. Some cities are not using the right scientific tools to assess the pollution level and to deploy the right strategies to mitigate pollution. Some are not even utilizing the funds that they are getting. So there are multiple inconsistencies that exist across cities when it comes to the implementation of this important program. So that is what the writers are examining. The writer says that implementation delays has primarily hindered the objective of NCAP. So if you look at where things are going wrong, there are few specific issues that come up. For example, there is a lack of standard operating procedure. Even though Center has come out with the program, it has designed the architecture of the scheme, it has failed to lay down a standard operating procedure which can be uniformly followed across cities. So this has led each city to come up with its own approach, and they are not using the right standards, the right methodologies, and the right technology to identify the sources of pollution or to mitigate the different sources of pollution. Next, there is no defined timeline. This has been left to the cities again. So as a result, there are no deadlines, no targets clearly set, and thus implementation is lagging behind. Plus, there is bureaucratic hesitance as well. Red tapeism within the bureaucracy at the central level, at the state level, and more importantly, at the city level. There is very slow decision making by the authorities, and this is leading to delayed implementation of these pollution control measures. So as a result, the efficacy of the whole program, but already enormous amounts of money has been spent in setting up these smog towers. Many cities followed the same model without any scientific basis for it. So essentially, funds have been drained on inefficient methods. They haven't planned to identify the sources of pollution accurately. They haven't used the right scientific tools that are available. So as a result, there is a major flaw in the implementation of the program. So the writers are suggesting the different scientific tools that can be employed to provide for better assessment. Because to implement any such program on such a large scale, you need the right data. Because data will give you the insights. It will tell you where you can focus upon. It will tell you the sources of air pollution. It will tell you the most affected regions. It will give you localized data, which can be a key input when you're planning a counter strategy, and it will help in succeeding in your implementation. So getting the right data, right, identifying those sources, planning the right measures, bringing the right technologies is very crucial. So the writer is suggesting that there are three important tools, scientific tools, that has to be effectively used. One is emissions inventory, EI. Through emissions inventory, you conduct a scientific study through which you identify the local sources of pollution. These studies conducted at the city level will give you great insight into the local pollution sources. For example, maybe in a city like, let's say, Kanpur, pollution could be primarily due to industrial pollution. Or let's say in a city like Bangalore, the pollution could be primarily due to vehicular pollution. So sources differ from city to city at the local level. From locality to locality, ward to ward, sources might be different. Maybe there might be few areas which are closer to a landfill. So their landfill is the primary contributor. So without identifying the proper source, right, you can't really target the pollution happening in that local area. And you can't implement the wrong measures. In an area where vehicle pollution is the biggest challenge, you can't focus on tackling industrial pollution. That's a waste of effort, waste of money. So that is why EI studies are very important. Emissions inventory. You create a database through these studies and the Punjab, Haryana region, and how particulate matter flows from Punjab, Haryana towards Delhi NCR and then causes significant smog conditions. So such transboundary sources where pollution is coming from outside the city, that cannot be identified through EI studies because EI studies are highly localized. It will only help you identify the local sources of pollution. But it is one of the most important tools. If you have to come out with a customized strategy at the city level, at the locality level and ward level, you need EI studies to be conducted. Second, you need to conduct SA studies. What is SA studies? Source apportionment. You basically apportion the percentage of manpower. You need a lot of technical tools and implements and devices which has to be installed around the city. You need to collect the data, assess the data, and you need skilled manpower to do that. But if this is done, SA studies, if it is conducted, it will exactly pinpoint the percentage of contribution coming from different sources of pollution. Is that clear? This again becomes a scientific tool to plan the control measures. But however, SA studies also have a limitation. The limitation is that it will not distinguish between the origin. Let's say there is a pollution source 20 kilometers away and there's another pollution source maybe 50, 80 kilometers away. So SA studies will not really distinguish between the two. It will only measure, let's say, carbon monoxide levels, PM levels. What is the percentage of contribution coming from different sources? But it will not tell you from where exactly is the source coming, from where exactly is the pollutant coming. So that is one limitation. Now both these limitations can be solved with a third scientific tool, which is AQ modeling, air quality modeling. This basically uses predictive analysis. It makes use of supercomputing capabilities and even AI tools. By using AI tools and supercomputing capabilities, you can provide for air quality modeling. By using the data from EI and SA studies, it will provide for a predictive analysis. It will solve these limitations. AQ modeling can account for transboundary sources of pollution. It can account for the different local sources that are contributing for pollution and also estimate the range and distance from where the pollution is coming from. So AQ modeling can really help the city planners and the city authorities to take the right mitigative measures. So implementing these scientific tools is part of the program, but it's not being done effectively. It's not being implemented effectively. So if you look at the cities in India and evaluate their performance, only 37% of the cities have completed the EI and SA studies. That basically tells you the whole picture. Only 37% of the cities which are part of the program, they have conducted EI and SA studies. The rest, 63%, they are comfortably sitting, right, doing nothing about these studies, and they are basically not proactively involved in the implementation of the program. So this itself is a major flaw. This itself is a major hurdle in the successful implementation of the program. Next, the Clean Air program has another shortcoming. It heavily relies on concentration data. What do you mean by concentration data? Essentially, it is a measure of population exposure to harmful pollution. The percentage of population of a city which is exposed to harmful pollution. This metric is concentration data. So NCAP is heavily focused on concentration data. It does not pay adequate attention to the primary and secondary sources of pollution. In a city, there could be multiple sources contributing. Apart from the primary sources, there could be secondary factors which are contributing to air pollution. But this is not prioritized under the program because there is heavy reliance on concentration data focusing on the number of people getting affected by air pollution, and there is very little focus on secondary contributors to pollution. Only primary sources and primary pollutants are targeted, but the secondary factors are almost neglected under the program. So this again happens to be a shortcoming. So now the big question is, what should be done? what should be the way forward? Because that is what UPSC will expect from you if there is a mains question, right? UPSC will not only expect you to provide the basic details of such programs and provide an analysis of its implementation, but it will also expect a way forward, a conclusion. So essentially what should be done is that point number one, bureaucratic red tapeism has to be reduced. Within the central and state pollution control boards, at the city level, the city corporation level, and also at the state government level, the level of bureaucracy, the slow decision making has to go. Then there is a need to adopt these scientific tools as quickly as possible and in a uniform manner. So for that you need a standard operating procedure which can be followed by all the cities. But of course you can't have a one-size-fits-all solution, because in each city the local problems could be different. So you need to provide for flexibility as well, so that the plans can be customized. There should be scope for local customization depending on local factors in each city, but broadly there should be a uniform protocol, a standard operating procedure, so that the right tools are used, the right metrics are used by every city, and this provides more uniformity in the implementation. It will require more scientific studies. It will require adequate funding. There are some cities which have not utilized the funds at all. For example, if you look at Visakhapatnam, Bengaluru, their fund utilization, believe it or not, is 0 to 1%. They haven't touched the money they have got for tackling air pollution. So this is quite alarming. So we need to fix these problems. The problems related to funding, the conditional transfer of funds should be made more realistic, and there should be quick decision making and effective implementation. So these are certain measures that need to be taken by the Environment Ministry in coordination with the state and city authorities. Is that clear? So please make a note of all these points. It's a very important topic. Definitely you can expect a question here. Next, we have a column on the same page, on page number 8, and it's a very interesting topic. This article is talking about the welfare and rights of Indian seafarers. The article is focused on Indian seafarers, the risks and concerns that they are facing, and their safety and welfare. Now, who are seafarers? Have you heard of merchant navy? Right? Essentially, those who work on board commercial ships, those who play a role in commercial shipping, right, in navigating the ships, in maintaining the ships. So they are called seafarers, who spend large part of their lives on water, on the seas. So this workforce plays a critical role in the global economy. I hope you know that most of the global economy is dependent on maritime trade, large partial vessels. And these vessels are operated, maintained by seafarers. And India is one of the largest contributing countries as far as seafarers are concerned. Almost 10% of the total seafarer workforce is coming from India. Out of the total seafarers in the world, 10%, close to 10%, 9.3 to 10% of them are coming from India. There are more than 250,000 Indian citizens working on vessels abroad. It could be commercial cargo vessels, it could be cruise vessels as well. So collectively, India is one of the biggest contributors. We were in the top 6. Now we have moved to the 3rd position. Until recently, we were in the top 6th position, right? Within the top 6 at least. Now India has moved up the ranks as more Indians have joined the seafarer workforce. Now, any incident that happens around the world, right, it affects Indian seafarers quite disproportionately. Given that we make a significant contribution, we have a higher percentage of Indians working as seafarers. Any adverse event due to adverse economy, adverse geopolitical events, right, or let's say security threats, maritime security threats, Indian seafarers are at the receiving end. I can give you many examples to prove this. Remember when the COVID-19 pandemic hit? Around the world, lockdowns kicked in, right? Most ports, they shut down. They didn't allow the ships to dock. right? It led to a lot of challenges where ships were quarantined, the crew, they were not allowed to disembark. So around the world, thousands of ships were stranded, and primarily it was Indians who suffered. Indian seafarers, they were stuck around the world, from Japan to the Caribbean to South America to Africa. Around the world, thousands of Indian seafarers were stuck for weeks and months together. So imagine the trauma that they would have gone through. Imagine the risks, the concerns that their families would have dealt with, right? There are many more recent incidents as well. Recently, when Iran-Israel tensions escalated, right? Israel had allegedly attacked an Iranian consulate in Damascus, and Iran had sworn to take revenge. So before Iran launched the attack, before it fired 300 plus missiles and drones, it did something else. Near the Strait of Hormuz, IRGC apprehended a commercial vessel linked with Israel, and most of the crew members were Indians. 17 Indian crew members were detained by Iran, and one of them was a woman. Fortunately, she was returned back to India. She came back to India safely, but the remaining 16 seafarers are still in Iran, still under detention. So look how geopolitical events are affecting Indian seafarers. Look at the piracy incidents near Horn of Africa and Gulf of Aden. Piracy has seen an increase, and many hijacked vessels, they usually have Indian seafarers. At least large number of them would be Indian workers. Look at the Houthi attacks in the Red Sea and Arabian Sea. The missiles and drones that Houthis have fired from Yemen, they have hit multiple ships, and in most of these ships, large part of the crew are Indian seafarers. Then look at the Baltimore bridge accident that took place, where a commercial vessel crashed into the Scott Key Bridge, the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore in US, leading to the collapse of the bridge. The entire crew, they were Indian seafarers. They are stuck in the US, facing investigations, inquiries, and even targeted racism and humiliation. So like this, every year, thousands of Indian seafarers face many, many challenges and problems. There have been incidents where Indian seafarers have been arrested, they have been jailed, they don't get legal aid, they don't get adequate support. So they go through a lot of risks and concerns with regard to their safety and well-being. So that is the focus of this column. Usually you don't get such articles, right? Because see, this topic is very important. The well-being of Indian community abroad is a very important topic under international relations. It's also linked with Indian economy as well. So as a result, you should pay attention to the topic and understand what India is doing to protect the seafarers abroad. So now I've presented the context. Let's see what India is doing. There is a new initiative, a big initiative India has taken up. India has submitted 3 proposals through papers at the International Maritime Organization. As we speak, the legal committee, the legal executive committee of IMO is meeting, right? It's a very important meeting where the legal framework for the shipping industry is worked out by the IMO, International Maritime Organization. It's a very important organization. You can get questions on IMO as well. I've given all the key points here. The IMO is a specialized agency of the UN. It's part of the United Nations. It was established in 1948. It's headquartered in London and has more than 175 member states. India is one of them. India is also a member state of IMO. So this UN specialized agency basically sets the standards for the shipping industry. It looks at maritime safety, maritime security. It lays down the standards for the global shipping industry and regulates the global shipping industry. It specifically deals with the welfare of the seafarers, their safety and well-being. So at the IMO, the legal committee is meeting this week, and India has submitted 3 important proposals. These proposals include the security of seafarers when they are working, their contract terms, because there have been many instances where seafarers are exploited by the owners, by the employers, and broader maritime security challenges that we are witnessing today due to increased geopolitical tensions. So 3 important papers have been proposed by India, right? These are initiatives by India to promote international cooperation to deal with the issues of seafarers. There have been many instances where pirates and criminals have targeted ships. Armed criminals and robbers have targeted the ships, and the seafarers have suffered, most of them being Indian. So India has proposed a comprehensive framework to deal with the security challenges, the welfare issues, and the broader challenges created by geopolitical tensions. So let's understand the current risks, the current threats which are posing a direct challenge to the well-being of the seafarers from India. See, one big concern which India has noted in this proposal is that piracy near Africa has seen an uptick in the last few months. Somalian piracy near Gulf of Aden and Horn of Africa. It has seen a major increase, a substantial increase has been noted. It had reduced for few years. It had even become stagnant for few years. But now in the last 1.5 years, piracy has gone up near Horn of Africa and Gulf of Aden. Multiple ships are being targeted, and in many cases, Indian seafarers have been affected. So that is something India is bringing to the attention of the IMO. So we want all the member countries to work together and uphold the established international law under the UN clause, the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. It deals with aspects of maritime security. It deals with the safety of the seafarers and those who are working at sea. So India wants these global standards to be effectively enforced, and this requires international cooperation. It requires all the countries to work together to ensure the safety of seafarers without discriminating based on the nationality of the seafarers. India wants global action to be taken against unlawful recruitment and exploitation of seafarers. There are many middlemen involved in recruiting and hiring the seafarers. And in many cases, these recruiting agencies, these middlemen, are involved with human trafficking organizations. So they push the Indian seafarers and seafarers from other developing, underdeveloped countries into abusive contracts. They are exploited, they are not paid properly, they are not given the right facilities, they are not treated appropriately. And if they face any problems abroad, right, let's say they get arrested, they are not given any assistance, no legal aid, and the families don't get any kind of compensation. So this has been a concern. A set of rights for seafarers at work. The Maritime Labour Convention provides a set of basic labour rights to seafarers who are working abroad at sea. So India wants a strict enforcement of these established conventions and international laws. So we have a UN clause which deals with the safety of seafarers, the security of the seafarers and their lives. We have Maritime Labour Convention that provides for labour standards for seafarers. We want a strict implementation of this, and we need international cooperation to achieve this objective. Next, India has highlighted the vulnerability of Indian seafarers in particular. Right? During this proposal that we have made, we have specifically pointed out the recent incidents, be it the Houthi attacks, the seizure of a vessel by Iran, or increased incidents of piracy. All these incidents have been separately listed out by India to point out that countries like India are bearing a bigger impact. Even other countries which contribute more seafarers like China, Indonesia, Philippines, they are also on India's side. They want global cooperation. They want assistance from developed countries in particular to ensure that the rights of seafarers is protected. There is a 40% increase in kidnappings happening in the Gulf of Guinea. Do you know where Gulf of Guinea is located? Let me know in the comment section below. Where is Gulf of Guinea located? It is quite notorious for armed groups. These are not pirates essentially. They don't hijack the vessels, but they target the ships and the seafarers. They loot the ships. These are robbers. Many such attacks have taken place. Indian seafarers have been kidnapped, injured as well. So India has pointed out these increasing incidents. Most of them are tied with geopolitical tensions. So India wants global action to be taken through the International Maritime Organization. That is the concerned global institution to deal with the safety of seafarers. Plus, India has taken some domestic action as well. The government of India, along with the Shipping Ministry, Ministry of External Affairs, and the NHRC, National Human Rights Commission, they have proposed a concept called human rights at sea. This is an Indian initiative. We want human rights to be respected and protected at sea as well, even in international waters. So India is pushing for the adoption of this initiative where human rights at sea is explicitly recognized. Because as I told you, there have been instances where seafarers are arrested. They could be arrested of various crimes, tax evasion, smuggling, or even robbery, murder, etc. Some seafarers might commit a crime abroad, but there should be a guarantee that at least their basic human rights are protected. There are Indian seafarers who are in jail in Indonesia, in other countries from many months, many years, without any legal support. They haven't even been given basic consular access to Indian consular officials. So India wants human rights at sea to be recognized explicitly, and the NHRC along with the government of India, they are pushing for this initiative to be adopted at the global level. So India has been doing quite a lot in the recent months to protect the seafarers at work, because Indians are at great risk. Lakhs of Indian seafarers are at great risk due to these events that are taking place. So that is what we understand from this important column. Now let's look at an editorial from page number 8. This editorial deals with the elections which are going on. As you know, the first phase of voting took place last week on April 19th. But what is really surprising and very unfortunate is that the voter turnout has been very low. Initial data on the day of voting suggested that the turnout was just around 62%. When final numbers came in, this had increased to around 65 to 6. Something which is concerning the Election Commission this time is the role of the oppressive heat during the summer months. The Election Commission is exploring whether the persistent heat wave conditions in large parts of India, not just heat wave, even the high temperatures, the oppressive heat during the summer season, is it playing a role in pushing the voters away from the polling booths? That is something the Election Commission is exploring very seriously, because this has long-term consequences for Indian democracy and Indian elections. So the Election Commission has constituted a task force comprising of officials from Election Commission of India, National Disaster Management Authority, India Meteorological Department, which is an early warning agency, and the Ministry of Health. These are the concerned institutions dealing with the impact of heat wave and heat stress. So IMD, NDMA and Ministry of Health, right, the top officials have been brought together by the Election Commission to ensure that the further phases of voting doesn't face such a low voter turnout because of the prevailing heat conditions. So essentially, Election Commission has asked the task force to study the heat conditions 5 days before each polling phase. 5 days before the elections, right? The task force will study the data provided by IMD, right? NDMA and Ministry of Health officials will provide their inputs. Based on that, the task force will provide recommendations to the electoral authorities at the state level to take appropriate measures so that they can encourage the voters to come out and vote. Because see, generally IMD declares a heat wave only when certain criteria are met. And we discussed this recently, just few days ago. We spoke about heat waves and we understood the criteria used by IMD as well. Now, some parts of India, they are suffering from heat waves, but not all parts of India. But the point is, irrespective of whether a heat wave is present or not, the temperatures are so oppressive, right? And the heat in general has become so oppressive that people generally feel exhausted. They feel dehydrated. This is a very legitimate concern. It's something you can't dismiss. Because there are other local factors as well which could play a role in influencing heat stress and heat exhaustion. For example, let's say polling booth is very cramped up. Let's say it has very poor ventilation. Let's say authorities have used some old government building or school premises to hold the elections. And if it's a cramped up building with no proper ventilation, if it's crowded with people, even then, if it's not a heat wave, still people will face very difficult, they'll have a very uncomfortable experience in going out and casting their vote. Let's say people have to travel a long distance from their home to the polling booth. So in the transition, right, during the journey itself, they might face many challenges. if there is no adequate transportation, if there is no hydration facilities, right, where they can consume water, or if there is no medical support, especially for old age people, senior citizens, voting becomes a task in itself. Now, Election Commission has usually preferred the summer months to hold the national election at least, because compared to any other season, this appears to be the most easiest as far as the weather concerns are related. If you look at the rainy season, right, the winter season, they pose even more difficult challenges. But now, given the rising temperatures, persistent heat waves, summer season also is becoming very difficult to hold elections. So that is why the editorial is urging the Election Commission to come out with long-term measures. Setting up a task force will not really help. That alone is not sufficient. It's only a short-term initiative. So what the editorial is suggesting is that there should be a long-term focus on when exactly elections should be conducted. Any season, there will be some risks, there will be some concerns, right? Be it summer, be it winter, be it rainy season, there will be risks in different parts of India. During rainy season, there could be risk of floods, right? During winter season, in large parts of India, temperatures would be freezing and it might be very difficult to hold the elections. So the concern here is, how do we increase voter turnout despite the weather conditions? Be it summer, be it winter, be it rainy season. How do we ensure more voters come out and cast the vote in the polling booth? Because we can't have a voter turnout of 60%, 62%. That is very low. It has to be pushed at least above 75%. So how do we do that? The editorial says that there should be incentives created. It's like trying to bring children into schools. If you look at our public education, right, one challenge we are facing in the education system is attendance ratio. Enrollment ratios are high, students are enrolled in schools, but most of them are not attending the classes. Why? Because they are facing many problems. They don't have adequate food at home, right? Parents are not supportive. They are finding it difficult to travel to schools. If you solve those problems, provide incentives, you will see that the attendance ratio increases in the classroom. Let's say midday meal program. It was a revolutionary approach. As we provided midday meals, nutritious, hot cooked meals at school, immediately attendance picked up, right? So that is one incentive. So similarly, voters need incentives as well. For example, creating better facilities at every single polling booth, ensuring that the polling booths have better ventilation, they have water facilities, ensuring that there is enough shade for people to stand in. They can't be exposed to the oppressive sun. You have to create shelter facilities, provide health facilities as well, ensure that there is a team of doctors available if required. You never know, people might collapse, they might get drained out due to dehydration, exhaustion, suffer from heat strokes. So you should have emergency teams on standby. Doctors and NDMA personnel should be deployed so that they can assist the polling officials, provide help to the affected people and encourage them to come out and vote. Provide transportation facilities in difficult remote areas, especially for old people. Arrange transportation facilities. See, right now, for senior citizens, home voting has been provided. That's a great initiative by the Election Commission, where polling officials go to the houses of very senior citizens and disabled voters and get their vote from their house itself. So such initiatives have to be expanded. Better facilities have to be created so that people have an incentive to come out and cast their vote. So this is what the editorial is dealing with. Now coming to the prelims section, let's look at the smaller articles in today's newspaper. On the very first page, we have a very important image. It's not an article, it's an image that Hindu carries on the front page of the international edition. It is depicting a cultural festival, a ritual in Northeast India. This festival, which is being celebrated here, it's called the Yangli festival. So this can come as a question under art and culture. The Yangli festival of Northeast India, it is celebrated by a group of people, an ethnic group called the Tiwa people or the Tiwa tribe. It is marked by the Tiwa tribe or the Tiwa people. The Tiwa people or Tiwa ethnic group, they belong to the Tibeto-Burmese ethnic group. They are found across Northeast India in Assam, in Meghalaya, in Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur as well. They are spread out across northeast India, and they are found in parts of Myanmar and Bangladesh as well. But especially in Assam, in Karbi Anglong district, which is a autonomous district council under the 6th schedule of the constitution, right, which enjoys constitutional autonomy. Here you find a significant percentage of Tiwa people in Karbi Anglong. So they celebrate a festival, a periodic festival that's related to agriculture. In India, many festivals are related to agricultural seasons, be it Pongal, Bihu, Lori, right? All these festivals are tied to the harvest season and the sowing season. Similarly, the Yangli festival, which you see here, which is being celebrated by the Tiwa people, it is an agriculture-related festival. It is marked before the sowing season of paddy starts. Because paddy is a major crop, rice cultivation, right? It's a major vocation for the farmers in this region, for people of the Tiwa tribe. So before the cropping season, before they sow the paddy crops, they pray to the gods that they believe in, that the crops should not be harmed by any calamities. They pray for a pest-free cropping season. They pray for a disaster-free cropping season so that their crops are protected. That is the significance of the Yangli festival, which is marked with dance performances and very unique rituals and customs that is specific to the Tiwa community. So you can expect questions based on this. So please make a note of these key points. Next, on page number 5. Page number 5 of Delhi edition, but page number 1 of international edition. We have an article related to Kotak Bank. Kotak Bank is in news because RBI has taken certain measures against Kotak Bank. It has restricted some of the banking services of Kotak Bank. Usually this does not happen with a bank like Kotak Bank because Kotak Bank is known to be one of the most well-established, well-managed, transparent banking institutions in the country. But Kotak Bank was facing scrutiny from the RBI for not following the prescribed safety and security measures, especially with regard to its IT infrastructure, with regard to the computerized back end of the banking system. Kotak Bank has not taken adequate safety measures and precautions. Repeatedly, there have been outages where the network has gone offline. There have been instances where data of customers has been exposed. So all this brought up questions against the safety practices and the standards being followed at Kotak Bank. So RBI conducted an inquiry, right, and found out that there are serious deficiencies in the IT management systems at Kotak Bank. Very serious concerns have come up. So that's why RBI has ordered Kotak Bank to not onboard any new customers. It can't issue new credit cards. It can't open any new accounts. Both online and offline accounts cannot be provided anymore. For a short time period, this has been prohibited by the RBI. It can only continue serving the existing customers, and in the meantime, it has to upgrade its IT infrastructure and cybersecurity infrastructure. So why is this article important? The article is important because it's mentioning a key word called core banking solution system. RBI's concern was about the core banking solution of Kotak Bank. So this is a key word. In fact, UPSC has already asked a prelims question based on this. So you should know what is core banking solution. It's a key word, it's a jargon used in the banking world. So core banking solution of RBI, it provided for centralized computerized management of banking transactions solution, which is a centralized computerized banking model. So on the back end, RBI has created a CBS model called eKuber. eKuber is the core banking solution from RBI on which banks have centralized their banking operations. Previously, before computerization came in, right? Let's say you opened an account in one branch. You had to go only to that branch to transact, to make any kind of transaction, right? Many of you might remember the public sector banks, especially SBI, how painful it would be to open accounts, to make a transaction. There would be no flexibility at all to the customer. So thanks to CBS, right, it brought centralization of the banking services, and now it provides you 24/7, right, and it is location agnostic. Doesn't matter where you are or where your home account is, you can operate the account from anywhere and you can avail any service, any banking service. So this is possible today because on the back end, there is a model which has been created, that is the core banking solution, which is built on the e-Kuber model of RBI. It was rolled out in 2012 by the Reserve Bank of India. All banks are expected to implement this, centralize their banking operations, computerize it, and build the banking transactions on the CBS model, so that customers can access all services of the bank sitting anywhere in the country, irrespective of the time, irrespective of where the home branch is located. Is that clear? So in 2016, UPSC had asked a prelims question on this. This is the question. So read the question carefully. I've given the options as well. Let me know what is the correct answer in the comment section. Coming to article number 6. This is from Environment and Ecology. It's referring to a protected area, the Kalesar Wildlife Sanctuary and National Park. According to the article, the Supreme Court has stayed the construction of 4 dams that were proposed inside the protected area. 4 major dams were supposed to be constructed in the Kalesar protected area, Neos. So let's see where it is located, what is unique about this protected area. The Kalesar Wildlife Sanctuary and National Park, it's located near the tri-junction of Haryana, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. The point where these 3 states meet, there is a critical habitat present, one in each state. So Kalesar is located in Haryana, in the Yamunanagar district of Haryana. It is contiguous, it's a contiguous habitat. It is linked with the Rajaji National Park in Uttarakhand. These 3 protected areas are connected. It's a contiguous habitat. It's a major habitat for elephants, leopards, panthers, and even tigers are found in Rajaji National Park in Uttarakhand. So it is a key habitat for various animals, including threatened species. And the Kalesar Sanctuary, Wildlife Sanctuary and National Park is found in Haryana. So these are some key points that you should be aware of. Also note that it is located at the foothills of the Himalayas, at the Shivalik ranges. Now let's look at the next article, article number 7. The article refers to the NCBC, National Commission for Backward Classes. NCBC has summoned the Chief Secretary of Karnataka and issued a notice to the Karnataka government over proposed reservation for Muslims under OBC category. The Karnataka government had proposed reservation under OBC category, category 2B, apart from the minority reservation. So this has raised concerns, and the National Commission for Backward Classes has summoned the Chief Secretary of Karnataka. That is the development. So it's very important to know the structure, the composition, functioning of NCBC. The National Commission on Backward Classes was established as a statutory body in 1993. The Parliament enacted the National Commission for Backward Classes Act, and it was functioning as a statutory body looking after the welfare of the backward classes in the country. So when we say backward, the criteria here was social backwardness and educational backwardness. Because if you look at the Indian Constitution, Article 16, they deal with policy of reservation for those who are socially, educationally backward. So to look after the welfare and the overall upliftment of these communities, NCBC had been set up as a statutory body under the National Commission for Backward Classes Act of 1993. But recently, the Modi government has done a major change. Through the 102nd Constitution Amendment Act, the Constitution was amended and NCBC has been turned into a constitutional body. It's been provided with constitutional status by inserting Article 338B. We have 338, 338A that deals with National Commission for Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes, which we discussed recently as well. So in 2018, through the 102nd Constitutional Amendment Act, Article 338B was inserted, which grants constitutional status for National Commission for Backward Classes. And related provisions have been added by inserting Article 342A and Clause 26C under Article 366. They all deal with the welfare of backward classes, right? That is the socially and educationally backward classes. Coming to the composition of the there is a chairperson, a vice chairperson, and 3 other members appointed by the President of India. So essentially, the Council of Ministers will recommend the names to the President, and under the name of the President, under his warrant and seal, the chairperson, vice chairperson, and 3 members are appointed. The primary role of this commission is to look at the welfare of the backward classes in the country, to study their socio-economic status, to study the social educational backwardness of these backward classes, and make recommendations to the central government and also to the state governments. It also submits a report to the President every year, which can be tabled in front of the Parliament as well. So this constitutional body plays a key role in ensuring the welfare of the backward classes and in delivering social justice. So that is why the topic is very important. So on this note, I would like to bring my discussion to an end. I have given 2 practice questions. You can see the 2 practice questions here for your answer writing practice. One is based on National Clean Air Program, which we discussed in detail. The second one is on the safety and welfare of Indian seafarers, which we covered in detail. So please go back, watch the discussion again if you want, note down the key points and structure the answer, right, by using the same flow that I used in the discussion. So that will basically build your answer, and I want at least some of you to post the answer in the comment section below so that it can help other aspirants as well. So on this note, let's end the session for today.